Yep. Hey, shalom, family. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Most High Christ bless. Let me know if y'all can see me and hear me. Shalom, y'all. Shalom, shalom. Can y'all see me? Hear me? All good? All right, all right. All praises, all praises. All right. So y'all can see me, y'all can hear me. All right. All right, all praises. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all as well. All right. So I see y'all loading up in there. All right. Most High Christ bless y'all. Shalom, shalom. Pray all is well. All right. Lord's will, y'all having a great day, and y'all had a good weekend and all that from the Sabbath. We already at what they call hump day and all that, right? Wednesday. All right. And so we're gonna pick up, right? Given the sense A to Z, y'all know how we do. All right. So today we're gonna do First Corinthians chapter 12, right? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna spend time in them first two verses, right? And we're gonna spend we basically gonna do the whole class there, and I'm gonna tell y'all why, right? Because right now you got some guys that's running around YouTube. They Israelites, right? They've been teaching for a long time, and now they're teaching that all nations can be saved, right? And Deacon I did a beautiful class on it a couple weeks back. We've been touching on these guys, but what's important is you yourself to know who are the Gentiles, the Greeks, right? The heathen. All of these type of connotations and words is important. The problem is these guys who's teaching that all nations could be saved, they never taught that before. That was never their thing. They never was teaching that. But now they're teaching it. So why are they teaching it? Right? They got the devil on them, but it's a reason they don't understand the word. They don't understand the word of God. They don't do precept upon precept, y'all. They don't understand. And so this is what we all have to learn. We got to understand it and get it strong. When I say learn it, meaning you're going to put that into your notes like we always do, right? Talking about writing the precepts next to all the scriptures and so on and so forth, right? We got to build like that. We got to learn what it is. Without that, you're going to be running around like these guys, crazy as hell, not understanding. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just checking on some stuff, right? Not understanding how to break down these scriptures, and then doing what? Leading a bunch of people astray or destroying yourself at the end of the day, right? Not understanding that only Israel, when you see that term Gentiles, right? And we can say it till we blue in the face, and I know y'all understand, but I want y'all to really get a grasp on it. All right, so that you're not confused, because it can be confusing. It can be confusing if you don't understand connotations of Gentiles when you don't study, right? Y'all got to put some stuff to memory. Okay, y'all have to put some things to memory. Other thing, you ain't gonna be able to hold it all. The rest of it, please write it down. All right. So when you see these guys, because they sound very convincing, when you hear them, I'm telling you, they sound convincing. They sound just studious as hell, and they dumb, right? Dumb. They don't know the word. And when I say dumb, not that they're unintelligent, but they're dumb when it comes to this, right? Why? Because they don't understand Paul's writings, and they're not really keeping the commandments like that, or else they would have some understanding, right? All right. So enough of the preamble, right? Let's hit First Corinthians chapter 12. All right. And I know we haven't been on in a little while, y'all. So, hey, hit up whoever you got to hit up. Tell them to get on, right? Tell them to get on, right? So we're going to start, all right? First Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1, y'all, okay? It says, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Notice Paul is always starting off with that, right? About not having somebody ignorant. Last time I was teaching was First Corinthians 10, right? He said the same thing. He says it a lot. Why? Because our people are ignorant. They don't understand. Same thing with them brothers, right? They might think they doing a great work. They might actually think that. I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you one thing: they're ignorant to what? The understanding of Paul's writing. So we can't be ignorant. That's why Paul is coming out and doing what? He's letting them know. Listen, I don't want you to be ignorant. I want you to understand, right? I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles. Notice what he says. Ye were. Gentiles, right? You used to be a Gentile. Now, how the hell can you used to be a Gentile? That's like saying you used to be an Israelite, right? You have some people, they leave the body, they leave IUIC or they leave some other school and they run around and they make videos and they say stuff like, oh, I used to be an Israelite. There's no used to be nothing. You either are or you are not. Whether you keeping the commandments, that's something else, right? So you are this. So if you're a Gentile, meaning you're from another nation, you can't used to be that. So we're going to get the understanding on what he's actually meaning by saying that, right? Let me read it again. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led, right? We're going to stop there. What do I want to do? I want to go to Acts chapter 10 right now, y'all. All right. And we're going to spend our time getting the understanding in Gentiles. Once we get the understanding in Gentiles, the rest of this chapter is going to be like, it's nothing, it's butter. Because now you're going to know who's being spoken to. All right. So now, Acts chapter 10. All right. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 10. That's what we're about to read, y'all. All right. And y'all might say, damn, we've been through this a few times. Well, guess what? We're going to go through it. We're going to knock it into our head, right? When you keep repetition, is great. Repetition is great. Bishop always says that, right? But y'all should know that from your own life, right? Many of y'all played sports. Y'all did many things. You got to keep practicing, right? Like we talked about, when you know the law, you have a law practice. When you're a lawyer, they call it practicing the law. Why? Because as time goes on, they get better and better, right? They start to understand more and more. You try more and more cases. Same thing with a doctor. You have a medical practice, because the more you're doing it, the more you're practicing. Guess what? You're getting better and better, more experience, more understanding. So you're not ignorant, like Paul would say, right? So the same thing with us. We have to consistently and constantly go through this thing so that we start to snap. Now when you hear Gentiles, you'll be like, which connotation? What are you talking about? What is the context? Right? That's what the Christians like to say. Oh, you're out of context. No. We in context. That's what we study for, to be in context. All right, y'all. So Acts chapter 10, we're going to start in verse 1. All right. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, right? So Caesarea, right? This is a town, right? Or a city that was in the northern part of Israel, right? Where the northern kingdom was at, right? Or when you hear Galilee and all of that, right? Caesarea was there. The name was changed to Caesarea by the Greeks when they took over. That's why it has that kind of name. So when people see that name, they think, oh, this is Greece. No, it's not. That was Israel, but there was a place called Caesarea there, right? Called Cornelius, that was the brother. A centurion of the band called the Italian band. A band is like a platoon of soldiers and things like that, right? So now you thinking Cornelius, he has a Greek name. The name is Greek. Oh, he's Esau. No, just to let y'all know, there was a time when a lot of the Israelites was teaching that Cornelius was an Edomite. Okay, due to the fact of his name and the place and the name of the platoon, the Italian band. Oh yeah, that's white people. But we know from looking at the Dark Ages pictures, we know that the Italians now in Greece, yes, it was Edomites. But we know that if you want to really play games and submit on names, then we could do that all day, because we know we have the Poochies who are Italian, and we can get into all of that. But that's not the point here. This right here is talking about an Israelite who's what? Part of the Roman empires. He's part of a soldier. It's like all of us today. Some of us are police officers or soldiers. We're in the American Army, the American Navy, the NYPD, the whatever, what city you at, the PD. That's what he's dealing with. Okay, so just the name alone don't mean that he's a Greek. All right, that's what I want to get through to you. And a lot of our people are getting twisted on this because they don't understand, right? So we're going to take our time, right? Cool. Verse 2, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day. And we're going to get back to that devout, right? We're going to get back to that, right? He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day. That's 3 o'clock, y'all. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for memorial before God, right? So now Cornelius is praying, he's giving alms, right? The angel says, your prayers and your alms have come up before God, come up before the Lord, right? Now, if he's an Edomite, how is his prayers coming up before the Lord? What are we talking about right now? What are we talking about? Let's go to John chapter 9. All right, John chapter 9, verse 31, right? Now we know that God heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of God and doth his will, him he heareth. So what is it telling you? That Cornelius was doing the will of God. He was doing the will of God. He was keeping the commandments. That's what he was doing. He was doing it, right? That's how his prayers were heard. His prayers not going to be heard, him running around like an Edomite just doing whatever and just saying, oh man, I would just like to get down with those guys. I like what they're doing. I like what they're talking about. No, that's not, and oh, let me just give alms. To what people? So Edomite now is just giving alms to who? The Israelites? Because he wants to get on board with what we listen. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. All right. We're going back to Acts chapter 10. All right, verse 5, y'all. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. So the angel is telling Paul, angel is telling Cornelius, send some men down to Joppa to go see Peter, right? He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called two of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. We're going to read down to 11. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa, right? So now Cornelius did what? He took the men that were with him in his house, men that he trusted, and a soldier, and sent them to Joppa to go look for Peter, right? On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the house to pray about the 6th hour. Okay, 6th hour is noon. Okay. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened and a certain vessel descending. Now I want to we got to pay attention to this verse 11 right here. This verse 11 is very, very important in Acts chapter 10, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. And saw heaven opened and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. So now here it is. You got this sheet, this vessel that's coming down, right? At the four corners. It's knit at the four corners, right? And what? All manner of four-footed beasts were coming down. So now, remember, it started off saying that Peter, what? He was hungry before he went into this trance. While they were preparing the food, that's when he went into the trance. He's seeing this thing now, and he's what? He's saying, oh, I've never eaten anything common or unclean, because there's a bunch of the beasts that were coming down were unclean beasts, not beasts that we would eat, right? According to Leviticus 11. So Peter is now saying, I've never eaten anything common or unclean, because what was said? Rise, Peter, kill and eat. Kill and eat, right? So now he's thinking it's food. I'm going to slay this animal. The Lord want me to eat this? No, that's incredible. That's impossible. We're going to get into all the eating. We're going to deal with all that. Let's go back to verse 11, y'all. And saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners. All right. Now let's go to Hosea chapter 8 and verse 8. We're coming back to Acts 10. All right. So y'all keep that space. Let me keep it as well. All right. Hosea 8 and 8. All right. Let's get there. All right. So the book of Hosea chapter 8 and verse 8. Write this down, y'all. All right. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure, right? So now Israel is being referred to as a vessel here in Hosea chapter 8, right? Watch this. All right. Now, when you go back to Acts chapter 10, and I saw in verse 11, and saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending unto him as had been a great sheet knit at the four corners. So now that vessel that he's seeing is what? It's Israel. What? Swallowed up among who? The Gentiles, right? Meaning what? They were scattered amongst the Gentiles, swallowed up amongst the Gentiles, right? What does that mean, swallowed up amongst the Gentiles? Meaning what? That they've lost their understanding of who they are, swallowed up, right? They're moving like the Gentiles. That's what it's saying. Okay, we're going to keep reading. We're still in 11. Certain vessel descending unto him as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners. All right, let's get Deuteronomy 32:26. And we're coming right back, y'all. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 26. Okay, Deuteronomy 32, verse 26. All right, I said I would scatter them into corners. All right, those are the four corners, meaning I would what? I would scatter them all over the earth into what? In slavery. That's what this is being made mention of, right? I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men, right? So let's go back, right? Now, I want y'all to understand something. When this vision is being seen by Peter, he doesn't understand it. We're breaking it down now, right? Peter's going to realize it later, right? But when we read this is how we know that we're talking about Israel. This is how we know that Cornelius is an Israelite, amongst other things. Cornelius is not an Edomite. Cornelius is not of another nation. He's not. We're going to prove it. Just in case anybody, if you heard any of this garbage going around, right? Okay, knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, right? Wherein were all manner fall for the beasts of the earth. Cool. Let's go to 13. And there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. I've never eaten anything common or unclean. All right. Now, we're going to read down to, all right, we're going to do a little bit of reading. All right. We have 14, read 15. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, what God hath cleansed, call not thou common. Right? So now it says what God has cleansed. What God cleaned the pig, God cleaned the lobster and the shrimp. That ain't what it's talking about. Cleaning what? He's trying to let them know that this is something to come, that who's becoming clean. Remember the scripture said, ye are clean. Oh man, let me get that. Hold on real quick. I'm just thinking about it now. Hold on. Look, John 15 and 3. Look at this. It says, now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Right? Now, when you go back, y'all can write that down, right? John 15 and 3. Right? So now when you look in 14, 15, and the voice spake unto him again, saying, what God hath cleansed, that call not thou common. So what? The Lord is saying, I'm cleaning these people up. I'm cleaning up the northern kingdom. That's what he's talking about. And the other southern kingdom brothers who were not keeping it. Meaning what? I'm bringing them back into the fold. Remember, the northern kingdom was cut off in the book of Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 8. Y'all can read that, right? We ain't gonna go to it now, but it says, I've made them not a people. He cut them off. That's why he's saying here that what? I'm calling them clean. You can't call them unclean. Peter's still not picking it up 100%. Okay, he's still not picking up on that. That's what we got to understand. All right, 16. This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now, while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore and get thee down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. So he said, you got these men looking for you. Go down there. Don't worry about it. I sent them to you. Right? So now he's getting this from the Spirit. Then Peter went down to the men which was sent unto him from Cornelius and said, behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore you are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth God and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from God by a holy angel to send for thee into his house and to hear words of thee. Why he got to hear the words? So they can be clean. What words you think he gonna come and just say hello? He coming to bring the word of Christ. That's what it is, right? So now y'all go to Ezekiel chapter 18, because it said he was a just man, right? He was a just man and had a good report amongst the nation of the Jews. Why? So he has a good report amongst the nation of the Jews. Yeah, because he was an Israelite. He was rolling, even though he was the northern kingdom and he was off. His people was off. He was coming back around. All right, let's get Ezekiel. Let's get Ezekiel, y'all. 18. All right, Ezekiel 18. Those of y'all that have this written down, cool, all praises. Those of you who don't, let's get it. All right, Ezekiel 18, verse 5. Look at this, y'all. But if a man be just and do that which is lawful and right. So how he's going to be an Edomite doing what's lawful and right? Y'all, do y'all understand what's going on? The Lord ain't writing like this for no reason. Right? We have the precepts. We must put them together. Right? Verse 9. Look at this. Hath walked in my statutes and have kept my judgments to deal truly. He is just. He shall surely live, saith the Lord God. You see that? That's the just. Keeping the laws of God. Okay? This is what we got to understand, family. All right? Let's go back to Acts chapter 10. Cornelius is an Israelite. We get that through the scriptures. We understand through precepts. All right. So this whole thing of him being an Edomite or of another nation, just get that off the table. That's done. That's already dead. Okay. Let us now go back to Acts chapter 10, verse 23. We're going to read down to 28, y'all. 23 through 28. Then called he them in and lodged them. And on the morrow, Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. Right. So Peter went with those brothers, and he took some brothers with him to go see Cornelius. Right. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with them, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So now Peter going there, he now understood, okay, he's talking about, why is he saying that? Because he know that these is Israelites. He knows that that's his people. He know that they are family, but they just got beef. He know, see, let me tell y'all something, and we're going to get to it right now, right? We have to realize something, how long this beef was going on between the northern and the southern kingdom. This is not something that just kicked off. This is something, listen, we about to, let me just show y'all. I got to stop this talk. I mean, we're going to get to it, y'all. Y'all know how I get down. I get a little excited about this stuff. All right, so now he said a Jew that should not deal with one of another nation. What, he just talking about any nation, period? No, he's not talking about that. Because what, everybody was doing business with each other, people were dealing with each other, had nothing to do with just any nation. That's not what he was talking about. But let's get it. Ezekiel 37, y'all. Ezekiel 37. All right. If we have any after the end of this, now listen, this is not going to be the most comprehensive class on this, but it should be enough to where we should not be confused, right? We should not be confused. But again, there's going to be, there'll be more teachings on this. The bishop got classes on this. Y'all can find it for more in-depth, right? Stuff. All right. But still, in this little time here, you should have enough to where you're not confused. All right. So Ezekiel chapter 37, we're going to go verse 1, right? We want to get the context, right? The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. All right, we're going to jump down to verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. See, it's over. Now, people use this scripture all over the world, but now we know that this entire chapter is about the Israelites. In northern nation, nobody else. It starts off talking about dry bones. In church, they singing about the dry bones and acting like everybody. No, right here in verse 11, Son of man. Yes, Ezekiel being called the Son of Man. All right. Don't let nobody fool. Oh, Christ is the Son of Man. Why? Because he was the son of a literal man. That's why. Now Ezekiel's being called the Son of Man, right? Just in case y'all didn't pick that up. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones, and no, Ezekiel and Christ, no, that's not the same spirit. I just want to make y'all know that's not him in regeneration. It's not. Okay. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts, right? Now let's jump down to 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Because the people going to say, what that mean? You got one stick with the southern kingdom on it. You got another stick with what? The northern kingdom on it. And now you're putting it together. What does it mean? Right? Just like when we have the 12 tribes chart, that's what people do. Because that's what it is. That's why the background, when you look at it, it looks like it's wood. It's this right here, right? And verse 19, say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, that's the northern kingdom, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, southern kingdom, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be going. That's what we read in Hosea 8:8, right? The vessel that was what? Swallowed up by the Gentiles. Remember that. All right. The scripture is going to say the same thing. That's how come we know what we're talking about, right? We'll make them one. I'm sorry. And will gather them. Hold on. Read 21 again. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. That's Christ. And they shall be no more two nations. Y'all see that? No more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. So now let's go back to Acts chapter 10. That's why Peter said, it's not lawful for a Jew to accompany one of another nation. He's talking about the nation of Israel, the kingdom of Israel, because he's the nation of Judah, the kingdom of Judah. That's why I said there shall be no more two kingdoms anymore. No more two nations, one stick. And it's starting where? Here. It started with Christ. Right. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. John 4. John 4, real quick. Right. So before Peter went in there, right, Christ went there first. Christ had told him, don't go into the cities of the Gentiles or the Samaritans, right? Because he was going to go first. It was about order, right? So Christ went, set it off with the woman at the well here in John chapter 4, right? We're going to start in verse 5 real quick. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now we just read that, right? That Joseph shall be the stick of Joseph. Now we're reading what? That they're on a parcel of land that was given to Joseph, the northern kingdom. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour, about noon. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, give me to drink. So a lot of people in the churches and so on and so forth believe that this woman is of another nation, that she's not an Israelite. Now, I know all of us supposed to know she's Israel, but I'm reading this again so y'all can put it together, right? Verse 8. I'm sorry, verse 7 again. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples were going away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou being a Jew, right? How being a Jew, asketh drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans, right? Remember, same thing Peter said to Cornelius. We're not supposed to deal with another nation, but the Lord showed me that what? That no man is common or unclean, meaning no Israelite is uncommon and unclean, right? But again, let's go back. Verse 10. Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou this living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob? What else we need? This is Israelite right here, right? Samaria, a Samaritan, she's the northern kingdom. Samaria is what? The head of Ephraim when you read in Isaiah chapter 7, all right? Good. Let's go back to Acts, right? Let's go back to Acts. Or is that what I want? No, this is what I want to show y'all. Now I want to get into the beef of the northern and southern kingdom, right? This is important. Let's go to 2 Kings. Y'all write this down, what I'm about to show y'all, okay? Write this stuff down, okay? This is important. Okay, we have to understand the northern and southern kingdom drama was nothing sweet and it was nothing light. It was very heavy. Now, what we're picking up after the split. Okay, y'all want to read about the split? 1 Kings chapter 8. I'm sorry, 1 Kings chapter 12. Okay, you're going to read about the split. We're picking up after the split. Okay, southern and northern kingdom ain't dealing with each other. Okay. This is way after. Remember, that was during the time as soon as Solomon passed on, then his son came in, Rehoboam and Jeroboam was over the northern kingdom, and that's where the thing started, right? Now, we're in 2 Kings chapter 3. 2 Kings chapter 3, we're going to start in verse 1. We're going to get the understanding, right? Now, Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria, right? So now we know the Samaritans are in Samaria, right? The kingdom of Israel is what we're looking at. The 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years, right? Now, let's jump down to verse 11. But Jehoshaphat, right? Now, Jehoshaphat is what? It says the king of Judah. Okay, so you had Ahab began to reign over what? Israel. He was the king of Samaria. Jehoshaphat was the king of Judah. Okay. Now, verse 11, but Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah. So you're talking about Elisha, who is Elijah's right-hand man, right? Remember, when Elijah got translated and taken up in a chariot, right? Because he ain't died. The Lord took him. Elijah had asked him, he said, what can I leave for you, my son? He said, I want double your portion of spirit, right? So Elisha was known as a top-notch prophet. He had much understanding and was sought after, right? So this is what we're looking at here, which poured water on the hands of Elijah, meaning he was with him all the time, right? And was his servant, so to speak, right? Verse 12, and Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Did you see that? Listen, it was three people there. Judah, the king of Judah, the king of Edom, and the king of Israel. And Elisha, a Judite, looked at the the Ephraimite or the king of Israel of the northern kingdom and said, what I got to do with you? This is where the beef is at, y'all. This is how heavy it is. I want y'all to understand. Watch this. Get thee to the prophets of thy father and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, nay, for the Lord hath called these three kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab, right? So they were at war with the Moabites. Okay, that's a whole other story right there. It's a great class. They went to war against Moab, right? So Edom and Israel was together in a war against the Moabites, right? 14. And Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, I would not look toward thee nor see thee. Y'all understand that? Elisha said, yo, if it wasn't for this man right here, I wouldn't even be looking at you. Now, this is a prophet of God. He is in this beef as well. He don't want to have nothing to do with the northern kingdom, y'all. This is back then, right? This is back then. Why? Because what? They were worshiping idols. They were going crazy. That's why he said, yo, go inquire of your idols and your mother and father, man. Y'all wild. Go ahead, go off with that. I don't even want to see you. He didn't even say nothing to Edom. He said nothing to Esau. He was talking to, y'all see how wild this is, man? You got to recognize, I'm bringing it home like this so y'all can recognize the level of beef, the level of separation, okay? The level of separation between the northern and southern kingdom. So when Peter is now going over to deal with Cornelius, this is nothing small. This is not him just, okay, I'm bringing the word out to some other Judites or the kingdom of Judah. No, this is a big thing, y'all. This is a big thing, right? So now, let's go to Matthew chapter 1. Let me show y'all something. Just to give y'all a thought on how long this beef was, right? You get Matthew chapter 1, and we're gonna read verse 17. Look at this, y'all. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, right? So from Abraham unto King David was 14 generations. And from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations, right? So from David unto Babylon was 14 generations. I want to zoom in on that. So from the time of King David, who's the father of Solomon, right? The split happened with Solomon. So let's take those 14 generations, right? Until the carrying away of Babylon are 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations, right? So let's just take 27 generations. Let's say from David to Solomon is a generation, right? So from Solomon's child, right, which is another generation, let's just say 27, 26 generations, right? I looked up how many years is a generation. It's rough, between 20 and 30 years, right? So let's say you take 27 years, 27 generations. I was just trying to get an understanding of what we could be looking at. 27 years on the low side at 20 years per generation will get you 540 years. The 30 years will get you 810 years. So anywhere between 540 to 810 years of beef and separation, y'all. This is called we don't even know each other no more. Y'all understand that? I want y'all to recognize that. This is not just, oh yeah, that's them niggas over there. We don't mess with them. This is almost like they don't even know they almost are not related anymore. Y'all understand? They don't even consider themselves relatives anymore. It's that heavy, but they got the hate there. That's all. It's being passed down generation to generation. Now we ain't messing with them. All the kings. Remember, it was like about 70 something kings in different reignings all this time until they went into captivity and it was over. But you got to understand, I'm trying to make y'all see how heavy this thing was. This wasn't like a small thing. All right. It's real crazy. A lot of years. Right now, let's go to First Maccabees. Right. I want to show y'all something. All right. First Maccabees. All right. All right. We got First Maccabees chapter 1. We're going to start in verse 20. Right. And then we're going to be jumping, y'all. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 20. And it says, and after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So first he smashed Egypt. Okay. Then he turned on Israel. He went there with a great multitude, right? Let's go to 26, verse 26. We're going to be jumping. So that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the women was changed, right? So it's showing you all of the drama, everything that he was bringing out. I'm sorry, everything that he was plundering Israel. So now this is talking about our people now. We were what? The women's beauty was changed. Everybody was sad and smitten because we were getting destroyed, right? What I want after that. Verse 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. Okay, we're going to read down to 32. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but it was all deceit. So he took 2 years, he was smashing Israel. Then after the 2 years, he came and spoke peaceably, but it was all deceit, right? For when they, and he started taking taxes out of them and all of that. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. This is an Edomite, demonic. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. So he took the women, the sisters, and the babies, took them hostage, right? Probably raped them, slept with them, did whatever he wanted to do, right? Why are we reading this? We have to get the full understanding of what our people were dealing with during this time. Okay, because this is going to make us understand what's going on in a time of Cornelius and Peter and Christ and all of that, because this is the Romans. I'm sorry, the Greeks coming in before the Romans jumped in there. Right now, let's go to 41. Right. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. So here we go. This is it right here, y'all. Right. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, meaning what? His politics, his democracy, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath, right? Remember, he beat this into them by murder, captivity, rape over the last couple of years. So now when he's coming and saying, listen, we should all be one, this is almost a no-brainer. People are like, oh shoot, we look what happened. We have to do it. Okay. And look what it says, that they sacrificed unto idols. Remember what we started off with. Remember 1 Corinthians, that's right, sheer terror. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, right? When we started, it says, ye were once Gentiles, doing what? Dealing with those dumb idols. This is not just the beginning, because our people were dealing with things coming on, from before in the past. But I'm saying right here, you see it. Okay, how they became what? Gentiles. We're about to read more. We're going to read more. Okay. And profane the Sabbath and pollute the sanctuary. I want to jump down. You know what? Might as well read through 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Okay. This is stuff that Peter thought he was seeing in a vision. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised. And we're going to get around to that. There's something coming out later. I'm going to show you. This is the beginning of what's known as being a Gentile. Uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end, here go, y'all, they might forget the law and change all the ordinances, right? Because meaning to forget the law, meaning we're going to beat it out of them. It's not that they forget. How they forget? By it not being taught anymore. That's how you forget. It's not talking about that one person forgetting. It's talking about a nationality or a nation of people totally coming out of their heritage. That's why I'm trying to show you that when the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom was seeing each other, it's like seeing a totally different race of people. They were like, yo, them guys is done, right? But let's read on. Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. Right now, when he said he should die, is he saying that as a veiled threat? No, he had already been killing. So when the king this was a plan. He knew once he did all the plundering, the murder, the rape, the captivity, the slavery, the kidnapping and all of that. And now he comes and speaks to them and tells them, listen, I think we should all be one people. Now people's like, yo, listen, I don't want to go through this. Let's just do what he's saying. I want to just make y'all see the situation, right? We got to feel this. We got to be when we reading this, we got to put ourselves in there. We got to see this thing, and we got to understand, okay, that's how they wound up becoming Gentiles, right? Let's move on. 2 Maccabees 6. Again, these are scriptures that we've seen before, but I want to we need to go through them to get the full understanding on a Gentile, right? And we're gonna see some stuff. All right, 2 Maccabees chapter 6, starting verse 1, y'all. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, right? Because not everybody going to depart from the laws, of course not, right? And not to live after the laws of God, right? Now let's jump down to verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, right? Who dallied with harlots. So the Gentiles here is talking about the Greeks, okay, who dallied with harlots, meaning what? Laid up with prostitutes in there, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. They was, they was having sex inside the temple. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things which the Lord forbid. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So no longer were you able to call yourself a Jew. Okay. What were you going to call yourself? A Greek. You're going to call yourself a Greek because this is where you was at. Okay, y'all? We got to get that in our mind. When we hear it's neither Jew nor Greek, that's what it's talking about. Meaning what? There's neither southern kingdom nor northern kingdom, but what? All is what? One people. We're the Israelites. We're going to get there, y'all. We're going to get there, all right? Verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery, right? Letting you know that they are now Gentiles, Greeks and Gentiles. This is what they're being called. All right. Now, let us go to Romans chapter 11. And the reason I want to go to Romans 11 is because those same guys I was telling y'all about, them brothers who is calling themselves Israel and they teaching online and this and that, and all nations could be saved. They went to Romans 11 and had no understanding whatsoever. I was shocked. I thought they was a little bit better than that. They either know better or they just trying to lead people astray because they probably got white Edomite mother or Edomite wife or some Asian chick they dealing with. It's always going to boil down to something like that. I'm telling you, when you pull the covers off, it's gonna be like, oh, he got a Moabite girl. He want to save her. You know what I'm saying? Oh, mom's is white. He loved moms, so now all of a sudden, mom's are good people. No, don't matter who your mother is. It don't matter because many of us, all our mothers, a lot of our mothers, 90% of our mothers is Israel, right? And they don't believe. What's the difference? What, I got to start creating a new doctrine now so that it says, oh, even if you don't keep the commandments, you're going to be sick. Come on, let's stop. Let's cut it out. These guys are emotional and they're not right in the head, bro, family. Spiritually, they ain't right. You have to be able to see. You got men teaching the Bible with a baseball cap on. Right away, when you see that, just turn the channel. Turn the channel. It's not happening. These guys ain't right. You don't have to see nothing more. You're like, all right, this guy don't understand basic scriptures. All right. So now Romans 11, y'all, let's go to, we're going to run through this. Okay. We're going to run through this, y'all. We're going to be here. What time is it? All right. I got to steal some time from y'all. I apologize. Y'all already know. I'm sorry. All right. Romans 11 and verse 11. We're going to jump right into it. Okay. It says, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Now, when it says they, have they stumbled, right? My mother is Cambodian. Okay, yeah, mothers have nothing to do with it. It all comes through the father's line. So your mother could be whatever. There's anybody here who's watching and listening. Your mother can be from wherever she's from, but your father got to be an Israelite. That's how you Israel. So it is what it is. All right. So now in Romans chapter 11 and verse 11, it says, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? The they here is talking about what? The southern kingdom, right? The high priest, the scribes and Pharisees in them. Because what? Why say have they stumbled that they should fall, right? The stumbling at what? They're stumbling at the understanding of Christ. They're stumbling at the understanding that we're not going to be doing animal sacrifice anymore. That's what this is going into, right? We're going to get into it. Look, God forbid. Meaning what? Even though they stumbled, it's not that they out. All right. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy, right? Salvation has come unto the Gentiles, right? So now, according to church, according to these Israelites now, that's talking about all nations, right? Okay. Watch this. First of all, what is the stumbling? Right? Let's get that real quick. All right. So that's First Peter's, y'all. Okay. First Peter, we're going to go chapter 2. First Peter's chapter 2. Please write this stuff down, y'all. Please write this stuff down. First Peter's chapter 2. All right. And we're going to start in verse 6. Wherefore it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Right? Unto you, therefore, which believe, he is precious. But unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. Verse 8. And a stone of stumbling. All right. They stumbled at the understanding of Christ. This is talking about Christ right here. All right. And a rock of offense. Right. Remember last time when we went through 1 Corinthians 10, we were discussing that Christ is the rock. Right. We went through all of the where he back in the time of Moses, so on and so forth. Right. That rock of offense is talking about Christ. Even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed to do what? To stumble at the word. Right. So let's go back to Romans 11. Right. Romans 11. So now we understand that what I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, through the fall of those southern kingdom brothers, right? I'm sorry, I missed my spot. God, through their fall, God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles. Why? Because now Christ is being taught to who? The northern kingdom, for them to get what? Clean. Remember we read Acts 10. Don't call what I clean, you don't call it unclean. That's what's happening. Okay. For to provoke them to jealousy. Provoke them to jealousy. Why? Because hold on, let me see if I can pull this real quick. Now remember earlier we went into Deuteronomy 32 and 26 to show that we were scattered into the four corners, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21, I'm gonna read this. It says, they have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with vanities, right? Because our people were doing what? Worshiping all type of idols. And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation, not a people, not a people. See, now I have to get it. All right. All right. Y'all got that? Hold on. Let me pull this real quick. I got to go to Isaiah 7. I wasn't going to go there, but I wasn't even going to go to that one. But now we got to clear it up, right? Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 8. Isaiah 7 and verse 8. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, the northern kingdom be broken, that it be not a people. Y'all see that? That it be not a people. So when we read in Deuteronomy 32, 21, it said, I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. It's talking about the northern kingdom. Remember, this is a prophecy from way back, way back. Okay, this is what it's talking about. It was the northern kingdom that was not going to be a people. But guess what? The Lord said, I'm going to move them to jealousy. Who? The southern kingdom, that they what? They come back. Right? Now, let's go to Romans 11. Back to Romans 11, y'all. Okay. We'll start in verse 12. All right. Romans 11 and verse 12, y'all. All right. Lord willing, y'all getting it. All right. If not, just write it down. Y'all gonna get it. Right. Maybe not today, but y'all gonna get it. Verse 12. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world and the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness, right? So the riches, just go to verse 33. Just jump to verse 33. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God, right? How unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. That's what the riches are, that they now going to get the understanding again. They're going to get the riches, the wisdom, the understanding, keeping the commandments. So they're talking about the judgments. They're going to have that again, right? So now if the fall of them, again, Southern Kingdom, right? Just to make it plain, just to broad stroke it for now. When we do a class on Romans 11, we could get more in depth. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, the fall of the southern kingdom be the riches of the entire nation of Israel, right? And we're going to get to understand it. and the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, because the Gentiles could be brought in, meaning what? The northern kingdom could be brought in. How much more their fullness? Meaning what? Not only did the northern kingdom have to be brought into the understanding of Christ, but also the southern kingdom. That's what it's saying. Both kingdoms have to be brought into the understanding of Christ. We're going to read on. Verse 13. All right, verse 13. For I speak to you Gentiles, in as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office, right? He said that he's the apostle of the Gentiles, right? Now, let's go there. Let's see who the Gentiles are. All right, let's go to Galatians, y'all. Go to Galatians chapter Galatians chapter 2, y'all. We're going to go to Galatians chapter 2 in verse, let me see, verse 7. Watch this. Remember, Paul said he's the apostle to the Gentiles. Romans 11. Look at this. Verse 7. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, remember what we read in Maccabees, that what the children couldn't be circumcised anymore, right? And they had to be called what? Gentiles, right? They can no longer be called Jews, right? So let's get this. But contrariwise, when they saw the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter, right? So Peter has what? The southern kingdom. That's the circumcision. The uncircumcision is what? The Gentiles, the northern kingdom, right? Let's read on verse 8. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the Jews, the same was mighty in me towards the Gentiles. See, now the uncircumcision is being called Gentiles. The first, in verse 7, they call what? Uncircumcision. Verse 8, Gentiles. Let's read on. Verse 9. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. You see that? So they were called uncircumcision, Gentiles, and heathen. We read all three of those today. Israel swallowed up amongst the Gentiles. They shall be brought out from amongst the heathen in Ezekiel 37 and all that, right? We're reading it and we understand that they're the uncircumcision in Maccabees. We're talking about the Israelites at all times, right? Now, just to further make y'all understand how the beef was. Now, when you read this, what I'm about to read, you're going to fully understand why Peter did what he did, right? Watch this. Galatians chapter 2 and verse. Let's go to 12. No, let's start in 11. It said, but when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles, meaning he ate with the northern kingdom. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. So now he's sitting there eating with the northern kingdom brothers. And then, but when the Jews came around, he separated himself because he was so used to that. He was so used to that separation that he was embarrassed when the other brothers came, so that he was like, oh, no, I ain't with them. I'm over here. You understand? This thing was going on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Like we seen anywhere between 500 and 800 years of drama between these two, y'all. Okay. So now let's go back to Romans 11. Go back to Romans 11, y'all. Romans 11, and we start in verse 14, right? Watch this. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Now you understand why he's saying of my flesh, because the Christian is saying, well, look what he's saying, of my flesh. If there was all Israel, then why would he be saying of my flesh? He's actually talking about some other people. No. Remember, at this time, they're not even looking at each other like they'd seen people no more. You're talking about 500 to 800 years of no contact. No contact. We like to hell with them. That's the same now. When you got some people who, let's just deal with what's going on now. People calling themselves foundational Black American. They're saying, no, we don't have any connection whatsoever with the people across the water. You see the retardation? That's like the tribe of Simeon, me no black. We always make a joke about that, but you understand now, right? That what we've been apart so long that they really believe in, they're not together. So Paul said, of my flesh, meaning of the southern kingdom, y'all. That's what he's talking about. That's why I remember in verse 1, he said, I'm a Benjamite. He made sure to mention that in this chapter. He mentioned it in this chapter because it has everything to do with it contextually. You have to understand what kingdom he's from in order to understand what the hell he's talking about. Okay. So now verse 14, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, meaning the southern kingdom, they have to start following Christ now and stop doing animal sacrifice, right? And might have some of them. Where we read into 15, right? For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Right? Let's go to Romans 5 and 10 real quick, y'all. Real quick, Romans 5 and 10. Look at this, y'all. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life, right? So the reconciliation of the nation of Israel is coming through what? The death of Christ. Christ's blood, Christ dying for the nation of Israel. That's why I'm saying that here, the reconciling of the world. John 18 and 20, Israel is the world. Okay, that's what it's talking about. But again, if you're in the Christian mindset, you think he's talking about everybody. When you're in the Christian mindset, you think he's talking about the regular people. Oh, everybody's now under the covenant. No. Okay, where we at? Let's go to, we're going to read down 16 and 17. Now, watch this. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, right? The first fruit, Christ. The lump is also holy, those who follow after Christ. And if the root be holy, so are the branches, right? So if Christ is holy, then us who are following and keeping the commandments and doing his word, that we become clean, right? We are what? Read 16 again. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, here we go, y'all. And thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in amongst them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Let's talk about the olive tree. Now, these guys, right, who was teaching that all nations could be saved, said that the Gentiles come from a completely different a completely different tree. They're not even an olive tree. Okay. So the grafting in is like an apple tree grafting into an olive tree. They didn't say that part. I'm just saying that now to make y'all understand. Are you going to graft in an apple tree into an olive tree? Is that what Christ is saying here? No, he said, and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, who is he talking to? The Gentiles. Remember, he's calling them the wild olive tree. We're grafting amongst them, and with them, the southern kingdom, partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, meaning what? They're both olive trees. One is wild and one is already set. Why is he saying that the nation of the kingdom of Judah is the standing olive tree? Because they were still keeping commandments. They were still doing the sacrifices. They were still doing the service of God, where the northern kingdom was doing nothing. So they were completely wild for 500 to 800 years or whatever, right? Based upon our little math we did, right? I don't know the exact number. I was just, trying to get to understand, right? Just so we understand the beef, right? And how long they've been wild as hell, right? So now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 11. Not only did that Israelite say that, but I heard a Christian who was in a debate with another Israelite say that they were from a different tree. So these Israelites and Christians are saying the same exact thing. That lets you know that you're going off. You can't be saying the same thing in Romans 11. If you're an Israelite, you talking the same way as a Christian is talking, then and you looking at Romans 11, you out of control. You done. Now, I mean, you ain't done. You ain't dead, but you got to repent. All right, let's go to Jeremiah, y'all. Jeremiah chapter 11. And we're going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to show y'all something else. Right? We're going to get the understanding. Watch this. Jeremiah chapter 11. All All right. Jeremiah chapter 11 and verse 16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree. Who's he talking to? Israel. Fear and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. We just read that. If you be a wild olive tree and the branches are broken off, right? For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah. What else do you want to hear? The house of Israel and the house of Judah are the olive trees. And the wild ones is what? The northern kingdom. As you move on in the understanding. It's not that Judah wasn't doing some foolishness too. They were. But at least they still kept it. They still were doing sacrificing. They still kept it. Although they was off too. But the point is, the olive tree is talking about the entire nation of Israel. Not, oh, they're of some other tree, but they have no understanding. Because why? They're trying to make the scriptures fit what's in their minds, right? They're trying to save mommy. They want to save their girl, you know, or whatever's going on. All right, y'all, because we've had stuff like this. I've been in a congregation where we have brothers with a Filipino wife, and again, our people is all over the world. So I'm not saying you can't be a Filipino and be Israelite, but you would have to believe that. So if the woman is telling you, no, I'm not no Israelite, I'm Filipino, I'm Chinese, or whatever, I'm white, then it's over. What are we talking about? But anyway, the olive trees are Israel. So when you looking back now, let's go back. Right? Let's go back. 17, Romans 11:17. We almost done, y'all. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted amongst them, the southern kingdom, and with them partakest of the root of the fatness of the tree. Not only that, y'all, but the tree is made out of what? Wood. When we were reading Ezekiel 37, it said, take a stick and write what? The southern kingdom on one stick made out of wood, and the northern kingdom write their names on a stick made out of wood and put them together. This is what we're reading here, grafting in, putting those two sticks together. And if thy people should ask, what does this mean? This means all 12 tribes are back together again. Let us read that now in verse 25 of Romans 11. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery. So now again, Paul is talking about don't be ignorant. I'm about to let you know what's going on. Lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Meaning what? The blindness has come up, and it's using the word Israel there because remember, the Gentiles or the northern kingdom is not even considered Israel anymore amongst the Israelites, right? So now it's being called Israel here, just for y'all to understand why he's using that term. And then saying until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, meaning the northern kingdom, once they grafted back in. Okay. So what? The southern kingdom people had to be what? Blinded. The leaders were blinded. Okay. Verse 26. And so all Israel shall be saved. It's letting you know who is talking about the whole chapter. And so all Israel shall be saved. Look what it said up above. It said, happen to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be coming. Then when the Gentiles are being brought in, and so all Israel, meaning what? The northern kingdom is now come back with the southern kingdom, and you have all Israel, all 12 tribes. I hope y'all understand. I hope y'all understand that, right? As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob, right? So this is what this whole chapter is talking about. The Gentiles are the Israelites. We cannot be confused. Why we got to go through this? Because people are teaching crazy, and we don't want our people being confused. But now, let me show y'all this. Let's go to Revelation 11 real quick. Watch this, y'all. Again, we're going to deal with the olive trees. We almost done. I just want to show y'all something else with the olive trees, just in case anybody, y'all might show this as one of your Christian friends or whatever. They'd be like, no, you guys don't know what you're talking about or whatever. No problem. Let's go to Revelation 11, chapter 1. I'm sorry. I apologize. Revelation chapter 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. But the court which is without, meaning the court which is outside of the temple, okay? the court which is outside of the temple, leave out, meaning get rid of it, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. It said that part right there, get rid of that, because that's the nations. They're not involved in this. They're not involved in this. This Gentiles here is talking about the nations. How do we know? We're going to read down. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. Pay attention, y'all. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees. Okay. The Lord calls them his 2 witnesses. Then he calls them the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Right. Watch this. And if any man will hurt them, hurt who? The olive trees. Fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. Watch this, y'all. I'm gonna jump down. I'm gonna jump down to verse 10, y'all. Watch this. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another. Right? No, I apologize. I can't jump. I got to go to verse 7. I was trying to save time. Can't. I'm gonna go to verse 7. Okay. And when they shall have finished their testimony, meaning the 2 olive trees, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them. Who's the them? The 2 olive trees. And shall overcome them and kill them, the 2 olive trees. And their dead bodies, whose dead bodies? The 2 olive trees, shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, which also our Lord was crucified, right? Their dead bodies are going to lie in the streets of the great city. Remember what we read in Ezekiel 37. These dead bones, these dry bones, how shall they live? That's what this is right here. Okay. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies, the 2 olive trees, 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in the grave, because they're not actually dead. They're dead to the understanding, right? They're dead to the understanding. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. So who are these 2 prophets? These are the 2 olive trees. This is the nation of Israel, y'all. Okay. This is the nation of Israel. We gonna, is anything? This is the nation of Israel. This is it, right? So when people talking about the olive trees, no. We don't have to be confused. Revelation 11, Jeremiah 11, Romans 11. Notice all the 11s. Make it easy on yourself, yo. Make it easy. Romans 11, Jeremiah 11, Revelation 11. Okay, do that'll help you to remember all that. Romans 11, Jeremiah 11, Revelation 11. You're gonna get anything you want. Now, let's go to 2 Peter chapter 3. All right, we're gonna end it off here. All right. 2 Peter chapter 3. Okay, and verse 15, 3 and 15. And account that the long suffering of the Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul also, according to the wisdom given unto him, hath written unto you. So now Peter is writing about Paul, as also in all his epistle, all his letters, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, because all of this is hard to be understood. Y'all understand that? Hard to be understood because of the way Paul writes, right? Which they that are unlearned, like them same brothers I'm telling you about, them so-called Israelites who's teaching that all nations can be saved, they unlearned. The Christians are unlearned and unstable rest, meaning what? They wrestle with the scriptures. They don't understand them, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction, right? Because remember, Paul is pulling stuff directly from the Old Testament. So if you don't understand what's being written here, If you don't understand the Old Testament, you're not going to understand what Paul is talking about. Paul is referencing Jeremiah 11, right? He's referencing that, right, with the olive trees. He understands it. He's referencing, well, at that time, that wasn't him to writing on that. But the scriptures are referencing Old Testament. But the point is, let's get back to Paul. Because people don't understand Paul's writings, right? Now, when we go back to 1 Corinthians, right, real quick, right, 1 Corinthians 12. And that's why I was telling y'all, we ain't going nowhere but those places, right? Right. Look at that. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto dumb idols, even as ye were led, because they were what? Following behind, swallowed up by the Gentiles, the other nations, swallowed up amongst the heathen, right? They were the uncircumcision. All right. So I know we had to beat that in the head with a sledgehammer. All right. But that's what it is, y'all. All right. That olive trees that's talking about in Romans 11 again, just to make y'all. And again, I said it 100 times, but just to make y'all remember it. Romans 11, olive trees. You go to Jeremiah 11 and then Revelation 11. Right. Just make yourself understand. Nobody should be able to gainsay. There's nothing to say when you bring those things out. All right. So with that, family, thanks for y'all time. It's always a blessing, you know what I'm saying, and an honor, you know, to teach the nation. All right. Lord willing, y'all have a beautiful evening. Hey, y'all check out, and you know, I gotta always plug the show. All right. The Nehemiah Squad, check that out Monday, 8:30 Pacific time. All right. And if y'all miss it, go back and watch it. All right. We got some good stuff on there. All right. All praises to the Lord, y'all. All praises. All right. So with that, hey, y'all, be blessed, be safe. All right. Lord's will, we see another Sabbath. All right. Most High Christ bless y'all. Shalom. All praises, Brother Gideon.